Our next speaker is another guy from the Nomex crowd. By the way, we started those. They switched over when I was flying in 70, 71. Major Scott Fredericks from the 310th Fighter Squadron. They're flying F-16s in the FAC role. So we've gone from Piper Cubs through Warthogs to F-16s. Pretty high-tech change, and they're still doing it, and they're doing it well. And I'd like to introduce Scott Frederick from the 310th Fighter Squadron.
First of all, I'd like to thank those of you that were out at Luke a while ago and kind of got the 310th, which is the F-16 FAC community, kind of the schoolhouse, gave us some essay on this organization and what was going on, because it is a treat for us to be here and to listen to some of the stuff that you guys have done that paved the road that we get to travel down now. So with that, I'm humbled to be able to talk to you guys. What we're going to talk about, everybody, I said, hey, I'm an F-16 FAC last night that I was talking to in the bar, and I pretty much got that's horseshit. You can't do that. You know, there's no way. You're too high, you're too fast. Well, somehow we make do, and I'm going to tell you how we do that. That's who I am. I'm the number 2 guy in the 310th out there, the ops officer, DO as we're calling it now. And the only time in my career so far it's been good to be the number 2 guy, because the boss couldn't come out here, so I got to come in his place. So usually it's more paperwork and he gets to go do the fun stuff. We operate in a business of I need it close, but sometimes we get a little too close. Now that I have your attention. All right, that's Viper background-wise, and I'll just kind of talk this, most of the stuff I will throw out some numbers for you guys and some of how we do business, and then I look forward to your questions. Where you get FACs, typically they're Block 40 guys. For anybody that doesn't know, we've got the older Block 30s, mostly an air-to-air F-16. Block 40 is air-to-ground. Block 50 is the Wild Weasel. We are now doing a Common Configuration Implementation Program, CCIP, which is combining the Block 40 and Block 50. So you're going to have an F-16 that can effectively go out, drop precision weapons using one of 3 different variants of the targeting pod, and or use the HDS pod to be a SAM killer out there. So we've got lots of different roles. We try to be good at most of them. Block 40 is what I've done my whole career in the F-16, which is dropping bombs and breaking things, which I know you guys have an appreciation for. 600, 900 hours is typically the kind of person that we're putting through the FAC-A upgrade, and that's what we do at the 310th. We are the schoolhouse for F-16 FAC-As for the Air Force. So if you're an F-16 guy, you have gone through the 310th with very few exceptions. Some of the CAF bases are doing it now, but very few exceptions to that. These are guys that typically have grown up in the Block 40. So they understand targeting pod, they understand CAS, they understand how to break things, they understand airplanes, weapons, all that. And then we give them a whole different thought process, as you guys know, of how to think about controlling air and ground fire for that matter in some cases. Where do we operate? Not where you guys operated, because I have a different name for that I won't say in this crowd, but it's down there in the shoot me something block, as we call it, of airspace, because guess what, as you guys know, you tend to come back with iron in your jet or lead when you're down there. We do not operate there unless we have to. We do one low altitude ride, and that is pretty much just to scare guys to go, guess what? We don't do it this way for a reason, because 1, it's very hard, and 2, it's less survivable. Typically, where are we at? Up in the 20 to 25,000 foot block, because our sensors allow us to do that, and I'll talk about that. If we have to, we go lower, threat dependent, obviously. What do we have to bring to the fight? 20 millimeter, not as impressive, obviously, as the 30 millimeter. And 10s and 12s, which are laser guided. GBU-12s is typically what FACs will go out. 2 slant mounted GBU-12s, 500-pound laser guided bombs, and 2 pods of Willie Pete. 14 rockets is our typical FAC loadout that we go out there. 2 bags of gas, that gives us about 50 minutes to an hour of vol time, which is one limb fact, obviously, of the F-16. GBU-31s and 38s, that is the JDAM. 500-pound version, 2,000-pound version. Lots of different fusing, from crowd pleasers to delayed fusing for penetration effects. Targeting pod, MVGs, grease pencils. We got 2 radios, which is not much compared to the A-10s or some of the other airframes that have been out there. 1 to 50 maps, 3 DSA is what we bring to the fight. And every time we go fly a Joint Tactical Air Controller, the JTACs, they train down on the Goldwater Range and work with us. We throw them in the pit and they get to see what we see from the air, and they don't believe it. It is a totally different perspective, as you guys know, looking on the ground compared to looking from 15 to 25,000 feet. And when they get to see that, the guys that are on the ground calling in strikes too, it's an eye-opener for them to see that 3D picture. And that's what we bring to the fight. Precision and survivability, that's what we do with our sensors and the speed of our aircraft at altitude. That's our airplane. Obviously not configured here. We have 2 airplanes with FAC-A configuration sitting on the ramp over at Wright-Patterson. Tomorrow morning we'll be leaving. If you guys can sneak out and look at that. Unfortunately we have to go tomorrow. You can see what the F-16 in a FAC configuration looks like if you can make it up there. What's a jet do? Lots of stuff. What's it do well? Most of those things, if you concentrate on those. And that's what we do in the 310th, is concentrate on the FAC-A mission and teaching folks how to fly on NVGs and night vision goggles and using the targeting pod. So I'll talk a lot about this. Basic F-16, we put the bells and whistles on it, and we're getting newer ones. Some of the other pods you may know or not, we still use the old Lantern pod. There's the Lightning pod that the Guard uses, and the Sniper pod, which is the new best toy out there on the market. What that gives us compared to what we have now is EO. We're actually looking at a TV camera in the targeting pod and the ability to zoom in, and you can sit 20 miles away from a target and roll in the pod, zooming in your camera just like a digital video camera, and go, yep, guess what, there's 2 guys sitting on top of that tank, instead of our pod where I can go, yeah, I think that's a tank down there, and they can do that from 15 or 20 miles. It's pretty impressive. All right, this is my office. Pretty small, especially for a guy my size. It's pretty cramped. Can't ride on our canopy. You can, but you better have done some good work, so the crew chiefs are going to chew your butt. We don't have the mobile grease board like a lot of the airframes do. Ours is a little more sensitive to that. As you can see, though, there is not a whole lot of space. We don't have the big rack in front of us, so to speak, like the Hogs do, where they can put all their maps and their saddlebags up there. Everything we have is right here or on our legs, which is another limb fact of the F-16, and the fact that it's one person doing God's work out there. All right, this is what our squadron is. That's kind of some of the other stuff we do. This is a little bit of a who we are brief as well. But the big stuff is we teach the kids after they go through their 6-month of B course how to use targeting pods and NVGs, and then the role I love is getting guys coming back from the combat air forces and teaching them how to be FAC-As. This is an example of what our pod looks like. You can see here, this is obviously building here. Different polarities. This is the polarity, black hot versus white hot. Narrow field of view is just the difference, wide field of view, narrow field of view. I don't know how many of you have seen pod footage before, probably seen it all on TV, but this is what it looks like. So as you can tell, if I get a target area, I've got a little loading area or something like that next to the building. Hey, I've got 5 or 6 pieces of armor or personnel, something like that. I have the ability to see that, but the VID of no kidding being able to see this guy from low altitude and go, yep, that's Charlie, I saw him yesterday, or hey, there's 4 of them sitting on that truck. That's a little different than our capability, so we lose that at altitude. But you can see, this is, like I said, the 3rd best option of the targeting pods, and it's still pretty good, especially considering the altitudes we're at. Talked about that, kind of who we are, what we do. Here's a picture of our NVGs. Have people seen NVG footage on TV or anything like that? It's pretty amazing what you can look at. This, I think the most amazing thing, and I'll have students do when we take them out of their NVG ride, flying formation at night. The reason we have NVGs is now we can fly tactical formations, lights out, and be able to look over an airplane. Probably the scariest and most impressive thing I see at night is pull up, a couple hundred feet away from another airplane, have them turn all their lights off or go covert lighting, have the guy sitting there staring flying formation with his night vision goggles, and then go, hey, lift your goggles up or poke your head up, and that plane absolutely disappears. And that's pretty neat capability to be 100 feet away from an airplane that you cannot see with your eyeballs, and then you look through your NVGs and you got pretty good detail of what's going on. That's what downtown Phoenix looks like under NVGs. So imagine doing a visual talk-on trying to kill somebody in the middle of downtown Phoenix. That's another one of the limp facts of the kind of wars we're fighting right now. A little more, obviously any of the lighting out there, fires flying around in Kuwait before the war started. Some of the fires that were going on down there, it looked like, literally the sun was on the ground everywhere. There was an oil fire somewhere down there because it gains down your gogs a lot. So some of the limitations out there. Another picture of a pod. Unfortunately, the videos aren't working, but that used to be an airplane that is now chunks of metal on the ground. And that is our loadout. GBU-12s, you've got some missiles. This is what's on the ramp right now. We put our pod on the right-hand side. This is the old FLIR pod that we don't fly with anymore now that we have NVGs, which was an IR through the HUD picture that we're flying. And then, as you can see there, we carry rockets too. The same exact rocket pods that most of you shot out of, we're still using. So 14 Willie Pete at Luke. And we don't get anything new at Luke because we're not the ops squadron. I'm going to get in on a couple tangents now. One thing I asked them and they didn't know about it. Telling some guys last night why the value, and you guys know this, but here's a more modern story. The value of a FAC-A. In Afghanistan when that was going on, one of the issues up on the whale, multiple different valleys that we've got JTACs, good guys, multiple different nationalities, different valleys, zero line of sight for the high terrain. So JTAC 1 in valley over here cannot talk to JTAC 2 in valley here, or valley 3, or valley 4, or valley 5. And guess what? The bad guys don't care. They're coming at them. So what happens? There's mass confusion with the air assets, the guys on the ground, and people are not making smart decisions because they're getting ready to employ ordnance over there because JTAC 1 is aware of these positions, but he doesn't know where JTAC 3 and 4 and their people are. So you got a high probability of fratricide. What happens? A shit hot story, I don't know her name or all the details, but I'll give you what's past word of mouth. Female A-10 pilot rolls into theater, and there, like I said, multiple different valleys and confusion going on. She's FAC-A qualified, as most A-10 pilots are, and pretty much hears all the confusion on the radio and goes, stop, boom, I'm now in charge, and pretty much throws down, I'm the FAC-A, and this is my AO, shut up. And she went around the room, so to speak, tell me what you got, what's your biggest issue, are people dying? Okay, get back to you. Same thing, went through the whole valley, and effectively, as a good FAC would do, prioritized who's dying right now, who needs the most help, what weapons do I have, what airplanes do I have, what can I do with it? And she started wailing away on different valleys and using the air the best she could. Why I say that? We are in an Air Force that this mission is not going away, but it is definitely dwindling. The UAV thing I'll talk about in a minute. I think the thing that we teach, the most important thing we teach FAC-As is obviously to have that capability in the squadron. Whether or not they are on an ATO task to go out and be a FAC-A, that their knowledge and their SA is in that squadron. So now you got a room full of 24-year-old young flyers out there, and you've got a couple guys that are FACs, and maybe they haven't seen it, but they've been trained. Maybe they've done it and know she's got the experience. But now you have somebody who at least understands the concept, and when bad things start happening, you're going to have people who can step up to the plate. If we stop training people in the FAC-A role, that's going to go away. Fast forward to the UAV discussion. They are currently rewriting some of our doctrine, and the UAV community is pushing forward to put control instead of coordination in the UAV. Pretty much their operandum of what they're going to be doing. So, i.e., a guy at Nellis Air Force Base controlling air in Afghanistan as a FAC from a UAV. No eyeballs on the target. Just a sensor on the target. Little to very limited radio SA of what's going on around there. They may have, their video picture, but realize that is what, and I'm just getting off on Fester's opinion here, but that is what we are driving down when we start taking airplanes and pilots out of the equation. And that's coming. Whether that's reality and it's going to happen, just so you guys know, you can spit on the floor and say pooey just like the rest of us, but that's coming down the pipe for that. So, unfortunately, there you go. And I open it up. Questions is really what I'm going to get at for you guys. Sorry, some basic numbers that I said I'd throw at you. The F-16, what are we cruising around target area at? You guys heard last night, most of the people talking, hey, I'm dusting off the treetops as I'm flying around. Well, we don't really do that. We are typically in a 5 to 7 mile orbit around the target area with the sensor. Eyeballs on, either night vision goggles or the lightning pod. 300 to 400 knots in our circle there. Either doing a diving delivery with our weapons or can just roll out and lays in the weapons from there. Where that becomes challenging, obviously, we do not have the quick turnaround re-attack option just from our turn circle and stuff like that. So obviously different ways of employing than a lot of you have seen in the past. Cool capabilities that we do have though, that speed, the ability to hang up high and get away from most of the threats keeps us survivable in that role. So with that, questions on F-16 FAC-A? Go ahead, sir.
Our night birds would fly out at 5,200. What does that thing weigh?
The F-16, it'll go out to about 3,500 pounds or 35,000 pounds combat loaded. And typically we'll take off, find a tanker right before we're pushing into an AO, and then have about an hour worth of vol, and then come on back. So, yes, sir.
What's the A in FAC-A for?
Airborne. Yeah, we back airborne. Having the JTACs, and it sounded like there may be some confusion. The JTACs on the ground, and we train with those guys a lot down at the Goldwater Ranges. The Joint Tactical Air Control is something to think about. How much multi-service cooperation was there when you guys were doing this role in Vietnam? About that much? Not too bad? Okay, so fighters roll in and Fighter Pilot 101 is sometimes translatable, but the way I say stuff is different than the way the Navy says stuff and the way the Marine Corps says stuff. The FAC-A community, the CAS community is getting a lot better with that. Joint publications, they're out on the road now where our comm is the same, so when a FAC is or a fighter is saying XYZ, that means the same to a Marine guy or a Navy pilot or an Air Force pilot, so that's pretty good. The guys on the ground, the JTACs, are full-up controllers, and effectively we work for them. I don't know if that's the way it was a while ago, but we are an extension of the JTAC on the ground as the airborne FAC, and we all work for the ground commander as the supported commander in nowadays warfare. So, yes, sir.
What's the latest on one agency controlling all the other battles?
It's typically that's the way it's going to run. For a CAS type scenario, it's typically going to be the Army commander on the ground, the ground force commander, and we are supporting them. Also a fuzzy line now. It used to be pretty clear of flat FIBA, where the troops are, where the the FISL is, and the Army owns everything inside of that. The Air Force and other services, air interdiction-wise, owned everything outside of that. It's also a doctrinal battle now because the Army, with their ATACMs that can go well beyond where any of their troops are at, they are now calling that a FISL. So now effectively you've got 100 to 200 of click, 100 to 200 clicks of airspace that what used to be interdiction targets are now CAS targets. So a little different airfare. But typically it's all working for one boss. Sir.
Considering your laser target designation capability, how often do you use the 2.75s, and when you do, from what slant range?
Actually, great question. Our Willie Pete's, the thing we call it in the F-16 because you put the thing on the thing and that kills the thing. No kidding, the jet is that good. 3.2 miles is where the system is dialed in for Willie Pete, and it is a nail driver. I mean, I can roll down the chute and shoot it a couple different ways, but from 3 miles it will absolutely hit what I'm pointing at. Also have the capability with our latest avionics tape to shoot it from a level or up to about a 5-degree loft, is what the book says. Nobody ever does anything that the book doesn't say. But I can shoot that from about 7 to 7.5 miles away and definitely have usable marks in a target area. So what's cool is I can run in with a fighter. We're both new to a target area. I can run in with a fighter, shoot my marks, whoop, check with him because he's going to be checking away to look with his laser, and pop, contact smokes, copy 2 smokes. They bracket your target or shift, blah, 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 real quick talk on. you're rolled in, I'm gonna laser bomb because I already got the target in my targeting pod. So it is an unbelievable quick way to put iron on target. And that is my dream out there. When I get LGBs in theater, if I've got a targeting pod, I roll out and I can find a convoy, I can find a ton of different tanks. Guess what? I want you guys to do visual deliveries right over there and I got your bombs. Whoop, they roll and drop their bomb, I lays, it blows up. Copy, next guy rolls in, I lays, it blows up. You can put a lot of iron down very accurately, real quick. Sir?
Do you have to use secure comm during your cast?
Everything typically is half quick, which is almost secure. You can go anytime. Typically, you'll go to, no kidding, secure radios. If I'm talking coordinates of any friendly position, if typically most guys on the ground don't want to give you their coordinates because we've seen that, mismatched a few times, unfortunately. Or if I'm passing TSP type information of we're going to kill something right now, that'll be secure. Sir?
How do you handle 1 to 50 maps in a cockpit that small?
Good question. Because as you guys know, we talked about, hey, they had a look at the map example earlier, and I know you guys probably all have your own stories on it. That is one more way for me as a FAC to sanity check. Somebody gives me lat longs, okay, great, the system knows where that is, but do I know? So can I assess that target is now right next to that convoy that just moved in there, or right next to that moss that the general doesn't want me to hit, all these other things. So I've got to plot it, just like you guys did, just like any FAC would. But the maps we take out are either shrunk down, they're 1 to 50, but we shrink them in scale so I can still see the map, so it's smaller, not great detail, because I'm not out there looking at my 1 to 50, identifying targets off my 1 to 50. I'm using it to plot targets versus friendly positions, stuff like that. Or I get a 1 to 50 and cut out the part that I know I'm going to be working in my kill container. Any other questions? Sir?
What role does the AWACS play, if any, with the FAC?
Very little right now. In theater, they are not. In fact, you guys, last time you were there, were they even over there? Yeah, I think they're effectively pulled out of theater. Current train right now, if it's an Air Force kill chain going on, you've got the AWACS that you'll be talking to, then you'll be talking to the ASOC, which all the targets info and friendly movement's going to go through them. All the fighters and the FACs check in with them, and they're pretty much the update steer point, or the update point that the ABCCC used to be, kind of the comm link and all that. AWACS is just a node. They can pass that type of information, but right now they're not in theater, so it's the guys on the ground and the fighters keeping track of it themselves. Another good capability, obviously they've got the ground movement and what you can see going on over there, and they can provide a lot of that target essay, or at least movement essay. Typically what that is now, hey, we can see movement, and I need somebody to go investigate it with a sensor or an eyeball, the best sensor. Sir?
Doesn't the 300 to 400 knots that you're at quite a bit below cornering, does that give up a lot of your evasion if you're being targeted? Or
It's actually, that keeps us in pretty comfortable, a very survivable airspeed there. Plus 300 at altitude. The reason at altitude, if I'm down low, I'm going to be 400, 450, if not faster. So I've got the capability. At altitude, the reason I'm at altitude and the reason we have all these great pods and everything is obviously I stiff arm a majority of those threats. But yes, that is an issue. And that's one thing that you see screwed up quite a bit, because you get the moth to the flame effect. Circle keeps getting tighter, the G's keep increasing, and now you're the FAC out there at 220 knots, which I know is a relative term, but that's not a good place to be for us. Anybody else? Thanks again for your guys' stories.
Thank you.
You bet.
The standard answer for gathering people is to have reunions, where we quaff a few root beers, tell a few war stories, maybe even lie a little bit. But as we put this together, there was a story which is on the back of the brochures that we'll hand out at the dedication. But it was about a dog tag that was found in Vietnam that was connected directly to a guy I knew over there, Rick Meacham. And that dog tag story generated an idea for the monument, which you're going to see. Over here you can see the plastic and foam layouts that dog tags were kind of conceptualized, and as we put them down and tried to figure out what was a good shape to do this with, it came out in a couple of varieties. Black granite is a thing that's in for memorials now. So we looked at black granite, and then we looked at bronze, and the ones in plexiglass are supposed to be bronze or stainless steel. And as we looked at all those, the one that's on the pad is the one that jumped out as the one that really looked like something different and it would be cool. And it's evolved to something even more spectacular than what you see there. You'll see it outside. But it's not about a hunk of rock, because heck, there's rocks everywhere. It's really about people. And that group of people that were our compatriots, our friends, that died doing what we did over in Southeast Asia is really the reason we're gathered, today especially. So, as we came upon this whole, Bill, there's your plug in. As we came upon this whole event, planning for this whole event, now we got to physically put this into being. Well, you'll see the dog tag theme not only got carried through in the monument, but the base of the memorial is shaped like a dog tag. Could have made it square around, but it seemed like it was logical. It's shaped like a dog tag. And that round plaque goes in where the hole on the dog tag would be, and it tells a nickel story.
Turn this on.
And we put nickels in the foundation as we poured it. And that's the fighter pilot tradition of a nickel in the grass, and we put those nickels with our friends. Now there's a nickel list that I have. If you didn't sign up for one, you can sign up for one of those that are in there. And I'm also taking nickels. Jonathan gave me the last pile, and I'll take a nickel or a hard memento from anybody, and before I set that, I'll put it down. But the enlisted troops did something very special, and I'm not going to tell you what that is because I think that's going to be talked about. But as we dedicate the new exhibit, which you'll see out in the Modern Flight Gallery when we come back in for dinner, we have been royally treated here at the museum. They've done a good job, and they've given us pretty good billing. So, in a moment, Crew Chief Bob and Bob Carruthers, Bill Carruthers, and Colonel Murphy are going to say a few words, and then we will formally dedicate the exhibit here.